From the cozy studios of Aunt Pearl's Wisdom, it's time for your weekly constitutional. Remember, America has always been great. We just need to make it sane again. M-A-S-A. Make America sane again.
Welcome, everybody. Pull up a chair, grab some coffee, and let's try to make sense of this crazy republic together. I once asked my mother how many times she dropped me on my head, not counting the bounces. She insisted the answer was never. Personally, I think she was protecting her reputation. There's so much going on these days that I can't seem to keep up with half of it. Sometimes I think someone whose head wasn't quite so well acquainted with gravity would have a much easier time making sense of the world than I do. Every morning I wake up to breaking news, fundraising emails, political arguments, conspiracy theories, economic panic, celebrity scandals, and at least 3 people insisting civilization is apparently ending before supper. Honestly, half the time I can't even remember where I left my bank card. Wait, I didn't lose it again. Did I? The truth is, I know I'm not alone. Most days there's barely enough time to do what has to be done, let alone study government or history. We're working overtime, raising children, caring for aging parents, paying bills, fixing cars, buying groceries, and trying to survive another week without having a nervous breakdown every time we stop for gas. That's every bit as exhausting as it sounds. Meanwhile, every television, phone, computer, radio, and social media app on Earth is screaming for our attention. Everybody wants us angry. Everybody wants us frightened. Everybody wants us clicking. By the end of the day, most people are mentally exhausted. Not stupid, not lazy, just exhausted and out of bandwidth. Sometimes I think Americans aren't drowning in ignorance nearly as much as we're drowning in noise. Then someone reminds us that it's our responsibility to save democracy. Wonderful. Apparently, all we have to do is learn American history, understand the Constitution, keep up with Congress, follow the courts, separate facts from fiction, and somehow squeeze all of that in before bedtime. Most citizens never took a law class. Most people don't spend weekends reading Supreme Court decisions for entertainment. Frankly, neither do sane lawyers. But here's the good news. You don't have to become a constitutional scholar to be a good citizen. You just need to know enough to recognize when someone is trying to sell you nonsense wrapped in a flag. That's why we're doing this series. Not to lecture, not to talk down to anyone, but to learn together. This country doesn't only belong to politicians, billionaires, television commentators, or internet loudmouths. It belongs to ordinary Americans, busy Americans, tired Americans, and anyone who is simply trying to make sense of an extraordinary amount of noise. Yes, even we Americans who may have been dropped on our heads a few times need to know about our rights and how to enforce them. Gee, thanks, Mom. It belongs to all of us. And if we're going to keep it, we ought to understand how it works. So let's begin.
Well, now that I understand what you're going to do, I'm not so against it. I mean, how bad could it be? Maybe if Aunt Pearl and Adam learn about the constitutional rights the king has, they'll quit putting him down, and get it through their heads that he can take away what he gave them in the first place. It almost seems that he shouldn't have bothered to give us any rights at all, as ungrateful as certain people who shall remain Adam and Aunt Pearl seem to be. They think the king isn't any better than anyone else, and if it's illegal for us, it's illegal for him, too. Really? If that was true, there wouldn't be any point in being king. Next on the Constitutional series, they're going to tell us why we need a constitution in the first place. Aunt Pearl says it's an agreement with the government that we will pay the people we elect to take care of our national and international business in exchange for the government's promise to stay in its own lane and stay out of our business unless absolutely necessary. Why Uncle Steve Miller thinks the king should be allowed to do anything he wants. Uncle Steve, that is. I don't know how he feels about the king always having his own way. Never mind. We'll be back next week. Then we'll start unscrambling this messy document that was written to protect us from the king, or anyone like him.